Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Annecha Smart, and I am a life transformation coach. I focus on a lot of mindset work, focusing on what it is that you believe, what is it that individuals are believing about themselves, and how these beliefs are helping them to grow in life, fulfill their potential, meet their goals, or the opposite.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode.
How it is that these beliefs may be limiting how much someone can achieve and accomplish. So I do that within a coaching setting, and that is a professional conversation between two individuals that help the person I'm working with to explore what's going on the inside. Coaching can be different depending on what you want to achieve, but for me, I love to start on the inside, because what it is that's happening in the mind and in the heart, that's what's going to play out in your world. And when we get that part straightened out, as in you begin to see what the limitations might be, then eventually all the other bits fall into place. I am located in the United Kingdom. I offer my services online. And yes, I've been doing this for about getting up to 3 years. Absolutely loving it. It transforms people's lives, help people to become more confident and to actually step out and go for their goals. I work with women mostly. I do have some men as well. And it's individuals who are probably looking at setting up a business, trying to understand themselves better so they see why they're having recurring life issues where they might be stuck, maybe in their finances or maybe in relationships. And working with people who are high achievers, visionaries, creatives, but somehow they are in a place where they're a little bit stuck as well. So identifying what are the things that are creating barriers for them and moving forward. Because I focus on mindset work, I can work with almost any issue, any individual, whatever it is that's going on. So that might sound general, but because it's focused on what's happening in your mind, we'll always get to the nitty-gritty of what the issues might be, and then we can take action steps to address them. So in a nutshell, that's who I am and what I do.
Thank you so much for that, Danisha. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Today we're going to be spending some time around the question of true calling or living your dream, as it were. Because I believe that is very important in the life that we live. Instead of just living in a bubble, like I want to call it, we should be aiming at something that we define, something that we are. Um, just now, I'm working on a book, another book. Actually, I wrote this book in 2019,
Mhm.
which I call "Discover Your Life Purpose," because I find it to be very interesting. For a full year, I did on this topic. At the end of the day, I said, okay, let me just write a book about it. Also, because in that period, everybody was locked down. I'm talking of the COVID-19 situation. So I just decided to explore this argument in more detail. So the book probably is going to be out this month because I love the topic. It's very important for me. Also because our demography needs it. We need to not just live in the bubble, not just live for the salary, not just live for to please the people. We also need to live for ourselves. What do we really want out of this experience called life? All right, now tell me, the people that you are working with, what kind of concept, what kind of idea do they have about this true calling, about this thing you want to call your life purpose, what that thing you want to work for in your life instead of just following other followers?
Okay, so what might people be thinking? Surprisingly, people are not necessarily thinking about life purpose. as you described, some people are thinking about, how do I earn that next buck? How do I earn to a level that would be satisfying? And so people approach life maybe from that practical sense. Unfortunately, sometimes when an individual is growing up and they declare what they want to do, because your purpose, as I understand it, even in my own experience, I would use, your purpose is placed within you from birth. And I will always bring in little Bible references every now and then. But the Bible says when God spoke of Jeremiah, before you were born, I knew you, and you were destined to be a prophet. You would take my message to my people. So all of us are given something inside us. We are imbued with some aspect of the Creator himself that helps to formulate our purpose. A lot of times in childhood, people will declare what that is. I remember my grade 4 teacher, Miss Sharon Edge. I'll never forget that lady. My grade 4 teacher said, okay, class, when you get back in from lunch, we're going to be talking about what you want to do when you grow up. I don't know where the words came from, but outside of myself, when it was my turn to speak, I heard myself say, I want to be someone when I grow up who help other people to solve their problems. And my teacher said at that point, if you had said anything different, my name would not be Sharon Edge. But she saw in me what I was declaring myself to be. And I love that. There's a part of my mind that just lights up when you come to me with a problem. It's like, great, a puzzle, let's fix it. Let's work it through together. So there's just something about helping people navigate difficulties, navigate challenges, navigate trials, navigate understanding self. Because unfortunately, we can be programmed. We can be conditioned, is the word that psychology would use. But basically, it's being programmed. So people in childhood, so I'll go back to the point, if you don't have someone who says, that sounds like something, go for it, or support and affirm you, they might say, what are you talking about? The money is in banking. The money is in accounting. The money is in business. What do you mean you want to do X or Y or Z? And so people can have their dreams knocked out of them. That innate, imbued, indwelling, that information, that script, that specific purpose gets knocked out of them. So they are forced to look at life from a practical sense. And that's well-meaning individuals just share, trying to say, be sensible, be practical, be logical, be realistic. But long and short, you don't get joy, deep, fulfilling joy from ignoring your life purpose and ignoring your life calling. So that's one of the challenges. A lot of people within the African diaspora or wherever it is across the world, people in general, if their dreams and vision of who they want to be have been snuffed out, has been criticized, have been laughed at, they divorce themselves, they disassociate themselves from what they truly want, and they go for what other people recommend. And it doesn't mean that they cannot earn, if we're looking at earning, but that deep satisfaction, you'll read many stories where a lot of people come back at age 40, 45, 50, 60 to say, I've done life the way everyone else said. I've done banking, I've done law, I've done this and that, and I'm not bashing any field, any career. But there are stories where people say, I'm not satisfied and I'm not fulfilled. And I've not enjoyed what I've been doing. And when they go back to that childhood place, that dream they always wanted, and begin to pursue that, they have such delight and such joy. So you ask me what people are thinking. People aren't necessarily thinking life purpose. They're thinking practically, how do I live? But my aim, a part of what I want and a program I offer, is around clarifying and accessing what your life purpose is and encouraging people to go towards that.
Mm. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That is very important. This is a great calling of yours, no? Because the community need it. Because, like you said, we see this individual, and most of us are, who have probably achieved something other people wanted to achieve, but they haven't achieved what they themselves want to achieve. Sometimes they don't know what they want to achieve, no? And they come at the age that they cannot do it anymore, then the only result is regret. Saying, oh, how I wish I should have followed my heart. I should have do this, I should have done that. But we can actually avoid this mistake by living our true calling. Because what I really sincerely believe is that it is not just about how much you have in your bank. It is how satisfied are you in that this thing that you call your work, this thing that you basically spend your life doing, how satisfied are you doing it? Because I think Brand Tracy would say, now, this is how you know it. If money was not the issue, if just now you could win 5 million naira or 50 million naira or $50 million, and this is tax free, you are not going to pay anything for it. And maybe the doctor tells you, oh, for some strange reason, you are going to die in the next 10 years. Now, you don't have any limitation. You have money, you have everything, but you have limited time, because really, we do have limited time. What are you going to do? This is a very critical question.
It is. And a lot of people would then prioritize instantly. Money isn't a barrier, other commitments or whatever isn't a barrier. What would you go for? And that's when people will be in a position mentally where they think, I'll go for what my dreams are. So some of the barriers that hold people back, you've got common things like, maybe a lack of self-trust. So if I should go for what I want, would I be able to pull it off? Yes. Would I be able to do it? Other people around me seem to be pointing me in one direction. They've been doing that maybe since I was a child. Now I connect with what I think I might want. Do I want to head in that direction? Would I really be able to do it? Then it comes under that limited perception of self. And a lot of different things can come under limited perception of self. There can be a lot of attention to please other people, like we're saying. There's negative comparison. Obehi has achieved so much. He's written 5 books. He's published la-di-da. He's got a podcast. He knows different people in high places across the world. He's with all these government officials. And he's comparing. So that limits how much people can accomplish as well. What are some of the other barriers? A fear of failure, negative self-talk, trouble asking for help. A lot of people don't want to come across as though they don't know what they're doing or they need help. So they struggle asking for help. But here are the issues that matter in terms of mindset work and in terms of self-understanding. A lot of people may be experiencing repeated failure and setbacks. When you've transitioned into a new setting, a new context where you become what you fit into this expression diaspora, you're not in your homeland. A lot of things are different. I remember recently being a part of a forum that was looking at inclusion, diversity, and belonging. And I realized for myself for the first time, issues individuals from the diaspora have around inclusion, equality, diversity, I don't have the same perspective or experiences as they do. So you have individuals who, for example, if they grew up in the UK, their experience is different around inclusion. I'm talking at a mindset level as well than mine. I grew up in Jamaica, where everybody in leadership looks like me. So there's nothing in my mind that makes me think anything's wrong. I'm not good enough, or I'm going to have this barrier. So mentally, when I walk into a space, I automatically expect success. I automatically expect that I'm going to be appreciated for who I am, what I bring, etc. But then I found in this forum that I recognize people, and I don't think people realize they walk into a space expecting limitation, expecting to kind of be put down. And I'm not saying that those things aren't real. It is real. These are the repeated failures, the repeated setbacks. I had a similar experience recently. I was speaking with someone. This was one-to-one. Didn't disclose some of my background in education, etc. And this individual started making a point on a topic that I'm quite knowledgeable about. And I was saying to her, do you know, sometimes it's not that individuals want to be like this. This is the other case. I don't want to say too much in case they see this and feel badly. But she had this air about her that was like, what would you know? So then I had to disclose at this point that actually I've been in that field for X number of years. I've been at this level in this particular area. I do work with these caliber of individuals around this situation. And research does actually back that this is the case rather than the point that you're making. It was then that she had an air, a change in her, the way her attitude towards me to say, oh, I'm sorry. I do apologize. I didn't realize that you had that background, had that knowledge, but I'm showing you that assumption from her just basically came. It came as that front. It came as that bias that said, what would you know? You wouldn't know anything. So the point I'm making is some people show up in that room when they go into spaces that they expect resistance, they expect limitation, they expect restriction. Others might not enter the space in that way because they don't have the same background. They don't have the same experiences, even though you would think everyone from the African, Caribbean diaspora, etc., should be experiencing the same thing. It's not necessarily the same. And what I want people to understand today, it's the mindset. Go into the experience expecting success. Go into the experience with confidence. If you're going to go bidding for something, a lot of some of the work you do as a consultant and as a coach, you're bidding for opportunities to take on a particular project or whatever. Go expecting success. Even if in the past you were constantly experiencing the no's and the rejections, and you think, oh, it's because of my skin color, or it's because of where I go now, expecting success. Other things, being in an environment that's not conducive for growth, that's another barrier. Sometimes, it could be practical things like, how are you going to switch careers now? Why would you bother to change now? I've been asked that question, not now that I've switched into coaching. When I was switching from teaching to counseling, someone asked me, why would you switch careers now? But I'm following my heart. I'm following my path. And people think, stay where it is safe. That is so ridiculous. Why would you? And here I am, years later, walking along my path according to what my heart tells me is right for me. If I'd listened to those individuals, I wouldn't have grown. So there are some environments that are not conducive for growing. And coaching helps you to really recognize some of those more covert kinds of limitations. So you can work out in your mind what things you can do. Systematic challenges, how the system is structured, the attitude people might bring to you, but what strategies can you learn to self-promote or work a way around how people might relate to you because of their biases. I found that with people I'm working with or observations I've made, there can be some unhelpful personality traits. Some people can be, for example, passive aggressive, and other people may not want to invest in you. If your emotional intelligence is low, if you come across as passive aggressive, people might not want to take that chance, that risk to allow you to be a part of what they're doing. And you need that kind of exposure to grow. You need mentors, not just necessarily mentors that you will pay for their service. Yes, that is great. But sometimes you need on-the-job experience. You want to be able to be in that emotional space where people can trust you to move with the group, to be a part of the team. So some of the little things to think about. Is there anything with my personality? Have people been saying things over the years and I've kind of ignored it? But now I'm in a place where actually 5 people have said that over the last 3 years. 15 people have said that over the last 7 years. What is there about this particular trait? They say I get puffed up if they correct me about something. They'll say I stamp, I close doors, I am very difficult to communicate with after someone else might share an opinion that might be different to mine. What are some of the personality traits that might limit you? Because those point to what's going on in your mind. And that's why I'm raising these particular ones, because it is what is happening in the mind that's creating the problem. Unhealed trauma. Unhealed trauma clouds your lenses that you used to see life through. It clouds your worldview. You look at everything through those lenses. And if the lenses are pink, everything you look at is pink. And if pink, for example, represents exploitation, everyone who comes across your path, you're thinking, this person wants to exploit me. So if they're talking about something, they're only talking because they want to exploit me. If they're offering something, you get that resistance. You don't want to engage because in the long run, it's to exploit me. Whatever shade lenses that you're looking at life through, because of unhealed trauma, it is going to create additional barriers and limitations for you. So one of the other things, and I do hold space for people with trauma-related issues in my coaching sessions, because you can't escape it. We're in a world full of stress. If it is not a pandemic, it's going to be a family-related issue. If it's not a family-related issue, it's going to be a finance issue. If it's not finance, it's going to be your health. If it's not your health, it's going to be your relationships on some other level. We are in a world full of stress.
We're always there.
Trauma is going to be an issue, right? And then maybe to give you 2 others.
Yes, please.
So I was talking about trauma, and I've done training to be a trauma-informed practitioner. So that matters to me. Low tolerance for stress. You might think, why wouldn't someone go for their dreams? But to go for your dreams, there are parts of it that's not just about the passion. There are parts of it that require practical steps. There are parts of it that require hard work. There are parts of it that will require know-how. There are parts of it that might require you to go and learn a new skill. There are parts of it that require you to probably access help from other people. And if you're not prepared to cope with the stress that may come with that, or even if you're not aware that that stress could come with that, you might start and then stop. You might give up because you haven't got high stress, tolerance for stress. So that's something that new skills might have to be tried. You'll have to try new skills to get to a point where you can overcome that. And then maybe one last one here is lack of support. That's another barrier. So I really want to go for my dream. I want to understand what is my purpose? What is my calling? Why am I here? Where am I placed on the earth? What contribution am I supposed to be making? But if there's no support to pursue that, there's no support to afford help that could help you to understand that, that's another barrier in itself. And people be like, you know what, it's better I just stay with my job that makes me make X amount of money, pays the bills, put food on the table, forget about this dream. But that dream will never forget about you. It will nag you until you exit this planet.
Thank you for that. That is really very important. So I want you to tell me, what is your process of getting the people from where they do not know what is actually holding them back to where they can be at the driver side of the car that they take it into their destination. Tell me how you do that.
Okay, so that in itself is a process. So where do we start with that? Getting an individual to see where they are. There are many different ways, many different ways. Sometimes I let someone come in and just sit silently. Just sit silently for the first 2 minutes. It sounds crazy, but I'll tell you this. Having space for silence, having space for creativity, just that space, it allows your inner voice to rise to the surface. All the clutter is gone. All the noise is gone. You begin to hear yourself. What I can do, what I do with some people before they come, I have an intake form. I have, for example, your basic life wheel, where people can look at where am I in different areas of my life, rate those on a scale, maybe of 1 to 10, to see what they're content with in their lives and what they're not content with. And let's say they rate themselves really low on finances. Maybe they rate themselves low on relationships. Maybe they rate themselves low on health. Whatever it is, they choose, and they can choose to explore a high rating or low rating. Doesn't really matter. It's what's important to them. So they can choose what it is they want to talk about, and we start there. But the thing is, Obehi, it doesn't even matter very much what the challenge might be. When you start talking, you're going to be seeing what you think about yourself, what values you're holding about who you are and what you can achieve, and what you think is normal for you, right for you. You're going to see that. My job as the coach is to help to gradually point that out. Oh, so it seemed that you believe you'll never succeed on a rainy day. You can only achieve when it is sunshine. Or you believe if your mother hadn't passed away, then you would have been able to find success. But are those things true? Is it really true that you cannot succeed on a rainy day? Is it really true that you cannot be the best version of yourself because you lost your mother in childhood? If you believe that, you will live that program. You are conditioning yourself, along with all the other features of society and socialization that is conditioning you. So when you get to the point of recognizing, okay, I'm holding certain beliefs, and these are what are actually holding me back from advancing financially, from advancing in relationships, we definitely have to go further into the nitty-gritty of things. But the main thing that would be stopping an individual from making the progress that they should would be what they are thinking around those issues. So the strategy is to, help you identify what you might want to look at, begin that process, and then we gradually see what it is that you are thinking about yourself, how what you're thinking is exactly what you're living, and then we can begin to reframe. Who are you? We begin to look at identity. If who you're living has not been who you really are, then we begin to look at your identity. Who are you really? When we clarify that, then we understand what's your purpose? Why are you here? And that's when, even more magic begins, because you can begin to create the life to be the person. You have to become a new version of yourself, and then to walk in the purpose and fulfill why it is that you're here on this planet, make the contribution that you should. So in a nutshell, that's a part of how we get there.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's a very important conversation, the one that we are doing just now. Anyway, the next question I'm going to ask you, of course, will have to do with the role of psychology in what you do, because I find it to be very valuable. They are touching key points of what I do. So that is why I'm really looking at it with a lot of passion, because you are touching very key points relating to uh, the core of what I do and our demography, which is the African diaspora, because we are particular as a people, because we are particular in the situation. What I mean is that now we are in a system that is not configured for us, and we want to survive in that system. Therefore, we need to get ready to understand the system first before we can survive in it. Otherwise, we are just going to be statistics, which is in most of the cases that is what it is. So it's particularly challenging for us. But if we understand what we are doing, then that challenges can be translated to mean something different, and then we can approach it differently, and of course, we'll get a different result. That is why I find the work very important. Now, because what you do had to do with a lot of thinking, mindset, you did said, and also psychology, I want to believe, because you are going to be decoding the situation of people that helping them to straighten up their thinking a little bit. I'm trying to wonder, what is the role of psychology in what you do? What do you want to say about that?
Mm. I'd say it plays a major role, Behi. Um, Behavioral sciences is a part of what I do. Focus on psychology, but I look at the behavioral sciences as well. What are we aware of in terms of, yes, how people think? So that's a psychological processes, your cognitions, and how those impact how you will behave. And you're saying that the environment, understanding the system, so that when you're a part of the African diaspora, you know how to configure, how to navigate in the system is important. But I would say make sure you understand yourself. What I think about thinking, your own metacognitions. What am I thinking about? How do I approach a situation? Yes. What am I able to hold different perspectives on that particular situation, this particular context, this particular work environment, this particular society that I live in, understanding the nuances of people's, probably their thinking, and how structures and systems are set up to advance me or to limit me, if that's how I perceive it. What other ways could I look at things? How else might I view what I see happening around me? Okay, so psychology plays that key role in terms of just even looking at your thinking, that key role in saying, right, what is the mindset? What is the perspective that I am taking to this situation? I still will come back to it. When I first, for example, arrived in this country, I met others of my compatriots, okay? And they gave warnings. They were like, it's practical. It's practical and realistic, okay? But there is something about what's happening in your inner world, what's happening in your mind that needs to be coupled with what others might be saying to you to help you navigate what's right. So I'll give you this little story to explain. So when I came and I met my compatriots, they said to me, you know, the system will limit you in this way. People will view you in that way. There will be. When I went into meetings, went into interviews, went into conferences, whatever, did not take any of those limiting beliefs with me, or those limiting thinking or thoughts or other people's experiences with me. I just brought myself, bubbly, sunshine, Anecha. and we're going to have conversation, and I'm going to share my views, and I'm going to ask questions if I don't know what you're saying and I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't carry the baggage. I don't want the chip on my shoulder to say, oh, yes, they did say they're going to treat me this way, and they did say I'm to expect that, and those looks might mean this, and people might not allow you to. No, if I need to speak, I'm going to say, excuse me, and express myself. So that's a part of the mindset. Do not take on other people's experiences and expect them that, it should be yours. Sufficing to say, I'm not discrediting that these are realities. So there were practical examples that were given. So there was one individual that says, do not stay in the same environment for too long. Shift. So if you're in one setting, let's say 2, 3, 4 years, and you realize that people relate to you in a way that is limiting, be flexible enough to shift to another environment, because we're like seeds planted in soil. If you've got the right soil, you will grow, you will flourish anywhere in the world. If you are in the soil that doesn't allow you to shine, doesn't allow you to have the nutrients that you need, the affirmation, the respect, the recognition, the sense of belonging, all the other social related issues, you're going to be limited. So one practical advice I got from people who were here before me, that was over 20 years ago, was shift your environment when you notice it's not going to be working for you. Or shift your environment intentionally every 3 or 4 years, for example. You can put a time frame, right? Yes, I think those are some of the things that on the practical side, looking at coping psychologically, or just coping, understanding that what I'm thinking in my mind, and yes, the system itself has some issues, but if I change my own perspective around it and become a bit realistic, possibly shifting if I have to, learning something here, putting myself in a position where I can take that knowledge, that's important. But the behavioral side of who you are is important as well. What's happening emotionally? Are you shutting down when you're challenged? Are you going into fight, flight, freeze when stresses come? Yes. If a colleague challenges you or gives you that look, yeah, do you freeze and decide, I'm not going to engage in this meeting, I'm not going to participate, I'm not doing anything, I don't think I belong, maybe my ideas? Or do you run away? I'm leaving this job tomorrow. Or do you fight? You got to become aware of your emotions, how they are impacting your behavior. So here's the cycle for me. Belief, what's going on there? How beliefs impact your emotions? How do those emotions impact your behavior? And what are the results you're getting as a result of those behaviors? So the thoughts impact the emotions impact the behavior gives you the result.
All right, that's great. Now, how do you tell your coachee how to discern this information and then take action? Because now I want to believe that it is very important that we have those experiences, because I believe that there are two ways to learn. One is to learn through your experience. The other is to learn through the experiences of others. And learning is very important. This is very crucial also, because I think it's very ancient in us as human beings, as species, in that you can also experiment in life, because like I was saying before, we live for a very short space of time, which is not enough for you to actually experiment of what is the reality of life. Because if you were to experiment, you are going to define every little detail of life. And life is a package that has been here for billions of years. Everything that we know is built up upon what has been known before. If you are going to have to experiment it, 1 million years is not going to be enough for you. So we're going to learn from the experiences of others, but we're also going to learn through our experience. So I'm actually trying to go back to those things that you were told when you got to the UK like 20 years ago. I also had similar experience when I got to Italy. I got to Italy in August of 2004. I remember the very first day I was hearing those say alarming comment. What I'm going to do. Sometimes actually it was actually a wrong prediction of the future because they didn't know me very well. They thought I was going to do certain thing and that was going to lead to a certain result. And of course, it was wrong at the end of the day. But where I'm actually going here is how are we able to take all this information and then take action that is going to lead us to where we want to go?
Self-understanding, Obehi. Forget about all the clutter of the system around you. Figure out, who am I? What am I capable of? What potential do I have within me? Why am I here? And get to designing you. When you design you, you will see exactly where you fit. You will know exactly where you belong. We learn from others. We learn from ourselves. But we learn from that even deeper inner self. We can learn from self as in the experiences we have every day, which in itself is somewhat skewed because it will be influenced by other people and what's happening around us. But if you can create space to go inside, to focus on that third learning person within you, the third person to learn from, the Godhead within you, it will begin to explain to you, express to you who you are and what things you should be connecting with, where you should be and what you should be doing. So it's not just learning about from yourself in terms of your day-to-day lived experience and learning from others. There's that inner voice that knows more than you. We refer to that as your subconscious mind. And we would say your subconscious mind knows everything. It knows everything. If you want to wake up at a set time, it wakes you up. If your heart needs to beat, it makes your heart beat. Yes? So there is an intelligent design aspect of yourself that knows exactly where you're supposed to be. When you are out of alignment, you cannot be fully content. And when you're in alignment, this might, shift things a little bit. Because you are looking at the African diaspora, fine. But what if you weren't meant to leave home? What if you were meant to remain in your homeland and that's where you were supposed to be making your difference? It doesn't have to be so. Because how I approach life purpose is not about a job. Life purpose for me is about what is that signature identity that you've been given to fulfill a particular purpose on the earth. So, for example, when a car is made, we know the purpose. It is to transport people from one place to another. When some other thing is made, we know the purpose. It is to hold food. It is to satisfy hunger, whatever it might be. Everything has a purpose. Individuals have a purpose too. The Bible says, one, we were made for God's pleasure and to fulfill his purpose. So there's an aspect of himself that's been downloaded into us that we're then supposed to be using to contribute to the world. Okay? So that might be that your purpose is to be a teacher. What kind of teacher? And how do you want to teach? Do you want to teach through music? Do you want to teach through art, dance, writing, literature? Do you want to be a classroom teacher? Do you want to be a spiritual teacher? Do you want to be a mentor who teaches others how to navigate some aspect of what? Business development, self-understanding, personal development, whatever. Do you want to be at tertiary level, further education, higher education, tutor, lecturer? What kind of teacher do you want to be? Do you want to be a teacher within the governmental sector? Yes, you can be the point is your purpose is to teach, but to teach for what? There's a gentleman I follow and I listen to. His name is John Paul Jackson, and he talks about his business is called Purpose Point. I think it's called Purpose Point. Forgive me if I've forgotten. But for example, when he talks about his purpose, he says, my purpose is to, what is it again? Hold on, let me remember carefully. It's something like to treat others with respect and help them to flourish, something of the sort. So even, my point is, if you're a teacher, to what extent? Are you a teacher to bridge the gap between childhood and adulthood, where there might have been issues with emotional regulation, for example, and helping people with their emotional intelligence? Are you a teacher to to what end? For what particular group of people? To achieve what particular thing in the long run? And teaching is just one aspect. Are you here to be a reclaimer? For example, people who have gone through trauma have lost aspects of themselves that can be reclaimed. If you are one who is here on the earth to help others to reclaim something that was lost, what kind of reclaimer are you? Then you can look at the job aspect. How do I want to do that? Do I want to do that as a performer, an artist of sorts? Do I want to do that as an educator? Do I want to do that as a government official? Do I want to do that? You can pick the role. The purpose, for example, with John Jackson, is for others to flourish so that they may flourish. So whatever I'm doing, I identify the purpose, and then there is the mission part of it so that they will flourish. Or, for example, what you then work out. What area do I want to use to fulfill my purpose? Okay. So, for example, I might say my purpose is to influence others for good. Let's just pick that one. I'm here on the earth to influence others for good. Do I want to do that through a podcast? Do I want to do that as an activist? Do I want to do that as an advocate? Do I want to do that as a judge? Do I want to do that as an educator? Do I want to do that as a musician, an author, a songwriter, a performer, an actor? How do I want to influence others for good? The idea is to find the purpose. Teacher, reclaimer, influencer for good, whatever. Find the purpose, then explore what are the ways that would light you up to get that purpose manifested, fulfilled in the earth, meeting the needs of others that it should. And then you'll have that satisfaction that life brings.
All right. That is powerful. I think that is the whole essence of the conversation. But what you see now is that many people do not have that as their compass, and that is what I also sometimes refer to it. No, that okay, if we don't want to use compass, we can say GPS. That you have something that is routing you to your direction, because you are not just going anywhere; you are going somewhere. Now, if you were going to London and you are in Manchester, you don't just take any train. You want to take the train that is going specifically to London. Because if you take a train that is going to another direction, you are going to end up in another place. So
Yeah.
I think if we have life, at least for people of the African diaspora who are listening to us, it is particularly important for us, for you, that you know why you are here, because you travel several hundreds of kilometers away from your home to be here. There must be a reason for that. So it's not just a waste of time. Now, Annecha, how should people find this purpose? Because it means a lot. Because I'm saying that because if you can find your purpose, you are both more useful to yourself and also to the society where you live in.
Yeah.
Help me with that.
Yes. That internal GPS is that small voice that we crowd out. We don't have time for it because life is busy, we're doing family, we're doing work, etc. But maybe this is where, for example, a program that I offer can be helpful. I have a 6-part program that is basically unlocking your life purpose. Within those 6 sessions, we clarify things around your identity. We explore and clarify things around your purpose. And we look at who it is that you're here to serve, because what's placed inside you is not for you. There is no tree on the outside that bears the fruit, and then the tree turns around and eats that fruit. What's inside you is not for you. It is for someone else. And that's how the master designer has crafted life, so that we will always be interdependent. We will always be needing each other. It designed life in such a way that we should not have a problem with inclusion. We should not have a problem with belonging, because we are designed with something inside us that's the answer for someone else. And they are designed in such a way that they are the answer for something in me, for example. So, okay, the diaspora is here in another land, in another place. The land of the place is hardly the point. It is what's inside you that you bring. So unlock that. And you're thinking, but Annecha, how will people discern that? It takes intentional focus on the inside to unlock that. It does. And most times when you find out what that is, yes, you may end up working in an organization for someone else, which would be perfect if you can find a place that aligns with your own values and you're content and happy there. But it takes a lot of people into doing their own thing as well, launching their own businesses, focused on their own projects, that kind of thing. The GPS is inside you. If you did not learn from childhood how to trust yourself, how to understand what your inner voice is saying to you, then you're going to have to intentionally go and learn. How can I do that without investing in maybe a program? Then you need to probably do little things like logging a diary, keeping a diary, and keeping a journal. So your diary is logging what's happening on a day-to-day basis. Your journal is being reflective about what's been happening in your life, how you feel about things. Yes. How have you been responding to different things? What did you know? What are you noticing that lights you up and gets you excited? What are you noticing that de-energizes you? It just takes away your energy and leaves you depleted and tired, that kind of a thing. The things that light you up are a part of your natural GPS. The things that light you up are pointing you in the direction of where it is that you're supposed to be going purpose-wise. So, for example, one of the techniques I use when I'm helping people to explore their purpose is to go back to 2 or 3 past experiences where you felt alive and vibrant and excited. And that begins to give us something around, who you are and what role you're here to fulfill. I remember as a child, I used to teach the trees outside. I would have a stick and I'd be teaching the trees. Whoop, whoop, whoop. If this tree is not responding to my lesson right now. Yes. I used to sing to the trees and the stones and my pets. If they would listen, maybe they would scamper off. The point I'm making is when we go back to the past experiences, we'll see that you began engaging in the things that were your natural GPS was saying, this way, go this way. But then everything else, society, schooling, whatever, came into play. And well-meaning people, their ideas came into play. So put away that foolish playing you're doing. What are you doing? And you dismiss it and you move on. So one way, you can access my 6-part life purpose coaching session. It's a group coaching session. You can access it one-to-one as well. In the group setting, we're going through 6 different sessions, an hour long, where you are in this reflective mode. The scene is set, and I have a certain set of questions, visualizations, other things that we go through that help you in the moment of creativity to really pull on and harness and get the opportunity to log what surfaces from your natural, what you call the GPS, what I call your inner voice, what comes up naturally. I give you scenarios, or I give you different descriptions and experiences that take you to that place in your mind that holds the information about your purpose. When that is unlocked for you, you log it, and then we can explore from there. How do you develop that? That's one way. And other practical ways, if you don't want to invest in a program or in coaching, or some form of mentoring, also very useful, that might help you, then you can decide, okay, I'm going to journal for the next 6 months and see what comes up. And from that, you can then begin to say, okay, here's what energizes me, lights me up. Here's what depletes me. I'm going to now begin a life focus of focusing, paying attention to what lights me up. I hope that helps.
A lot. A lot. All right. I'm just thinking, is it possible that maybe low esteem could be one of the reasons why some people don't follow their true calling? Because I believe what you were saying before, that all of us have a calling. Okay, calling in the sense that there is a purpose why you are here. You take up a pen, there is a purpose for this pen. Okay, you can also use this pen to do other things, but the place this pen will really shine if you use it to write. You see, if you dip this pen on your body, it can create hole. That is another function, but it was not designed to do that. The better use of this pen is to write. So each and every one of us have the better parts where we are going to be able to shine. Until we find that part, we will always struggle. That is why I think it is important that we know what is our function here. Why am I here? Can low self-esteem be responsible for why people don't want to stand up to their name in the crowd and say, this is whom I am?
Well, like I said at the beginning, Obehi, low self-esteem in terms of limiting perception of self, in terms of lack of self-trust, in terms of constantly comparing yourself with other people, not setting any boundaries, for example, around your time when you're supposed to be researching, learning a new skill, you're doing something else that is robbing your time and your energy, poor outlook on the future. Those are features of low self-esteem. Fear of failure is a feature of low self-esteem. Trouble asking for help. All of those can get in the way because you may have a limited perception of who you are, the potential within you, and what you can accomplish. So the short answer is yes. Half the time, it is limiting. It's not, I was gonna say half the time it's not about the self-esteem. Half the time is that you just don't know. You don't know. And when you don't know what you don't know, you don't realize that you would want to be pursuing something different. You'd want to be exploring yourself. And the first time we got together, I said to you, people just know something's wrong. Something's off with them. They're just not fully content. They're not 100% satisfied with their life. Something is missing. Unfortunately, some people wait until they get there before they pursue coaching, pursue mentoring, pursue talking with maybe an older person in the community, in their lives, who might give them some direction. Yes? But that's a difference with some individuals in the diaspora or wherever, and others who are in those contexts that are natives, for example, if I can put it that way. They have a different mindset. They're showing their children from day one who they are and why they're here. So I'm saying it comes back to mindset. Yes, low self-esteem can be an issue. But sometimes you need to focus on, what am I thinking? You could be thinking it because you've got low self-esteem, but it is not the low self-esteem really that has started the whole thing necessarily. Low self-esteem comes after negative experiences. Low self-esteem comes after someone has berated your idea. Low self-esteem comes after trauma, all kinds of different things. But when you get to adulthood, it's more about, what am I thinking? And I hope that, those who will tune into this will see that other perspective, will see that other limitation. Is it about the low self-esteem? Is it about because low self-esteem is an excuse. Fear of failure is an excuse. My parent didn't support me is an excuse. I don't have the money now is an excuse. Because yes, you might not have the money, but you can save up for it if you know what you want and where you're going. Who am I? What's the purpose? How do I pursue that? Everything else is an excuse. Why? What the GPS has programmed inside you has all the resources you need to pursue it. And if you look at other people and their stories, they're going to tell you when they aligned with their purpose, everything else fell into place. Money fell into place. The right people to connect with fell into place. All other necessary resources fell into place. If they needed upskilling, everything needed to gain those skills fell into place. Everything tends to fall into place when you align with your purpose. So if there's anyone listening today and thinking, oh, it's low self-esteem in the adult stage, no. Let's go back to, what am I thinking? Even if I'm thinking thoughts of low worth, let's fix what you're thinking, get you aligned with your purpose, and then things will begin to fall into place for you to achieve it.
Thank you so much for that. That's powerful. Now, how can people sort of reach out to you to sort of benefit from what you are offering to them?
Okay.
And what would be your final thought to conclude the conversation? Please go ahead and do that briefly.
People want to find me, we're going to keep it simple. I'm on LinkedIn, and they can reach out to me through my LinkedIn profile. So it's Annecha Smart on LinkedIn, and we can connect there. And then secondly, generally my website details are there on LinkedIn as well, but it is www.smart, my last name, minds, we do mind work, coaching, .com. So smartmindscoaching.com. Okay. And you can find me there. There are different things on the website and ways to connect with me there as well. smartmindscoaching.com. Okay. Or on LinkedIn, if you're a user of LinkedIn. Maybe what I can do as well, Obehi, is to give you those 2 links. And you can, when you upload this possibly to YouTube or whatever platform, it can be in the description box for them to reach out there as well, if they like. But on LinkedIn, there will be a link that allows people to access a free coaching session. And it can be around life purpose, if they like, so that they can explore that for a few minutes and see, okay, maybe I was thinking this was my barrier, that was my barrier, low self-esteem, whatever, but it might not be. So they can use that time, if they like, to explore something around life purpose. So they have that option as well. And you can find that link for my Calendly booking on LinkedIn. Okay.
Fantastic. Was there something you wanted to add to it briefly to conclude it?
Just to encourage everyone, 2 really key things to look at. What's going on in your mind on a daily basis? If you're on the sofa, what's keeping you on the sofa? If you feel the pull to do something and you're not, what is it that is limiting you? If you think, I'm procrastinating, or maybe I'm just scared, whatever it is, identify those things. Begin to keep a journal. Begin to keep a diary as well. Do both and look at what might be holding you back, what might be just getting in the way, so you understand what your limitations are. And secondly, if you think, don't want to go that route, the long route, I just want to understand, what's my purpose? Really, why am I here? Go explore it. It might not come to you. The understanding you need to move forward may not come to you. You have to go get it some of the times. You have to go pursue it. So I would encourage you, yes, you can buy into my program. You can buy into any other program or any form of personal development that will have an aspect to it that allows you to understand yourself better and allows you to pursue what it is, gain that insight, because it's that one insight, that makes a difference. So you want to engage in a program that gives you that insight into what your purpose is, and then you can build a plan to pursue it and live that compelling, satisfying, joy-filled life.
Thank you so much, Annecha. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation. You have really been very powerful here. It really has been powerful. I appreciate it.
It's always good spending time with you, Obehi. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's really powerful.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.